Welcome, everyone, to the Firing the Man podcast. On today's episode, we have the privilege to interview David Wood. David is the founder at Focus.CEO. David built the world's largest coaching business, becoming number one on Google for life coaching. David coaches rockstar business owners to double their revenue and achieve more in less time. We are really excited to get to share David's story and knowledge with the listeners today. Welcome to the show, David.
Thanks very much. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. We're excited to have you as well. So let's start with a quick story about your background, life experiences, and what led you into launching Focus.CEO.
Well, the short version is I grew up in a country town in Australia, and I had a tragedy when I was 7 years old. My little sister was killed, and I was there. I witnessed it. And I didn't even know that had an impact on my life. I just grew up. But they didn't really send kids to therapy back then. I didn't go to the funeral. And it seems that what happened is my emotions shut down. Now, the silver lining is I got really good at left brain stuff. I got really good at numbers and business and systems and money. I came top of my school. I got paid to go to university. And then I got a job at one of the top management consulting firms in the world. And then got transferred to New York. So at the age of 26, I had an office on Park Avenue, consulting to Ford and Sony Music and Exxon. It's pretty damn cool, I got to say. But then someone suggested that I go to a personal growth program because I wasn't happy in my marriage and I was having issues. And I didn't even know all the issues that I was having. I just knew I wasn't happy. And I discovered I knew nothing about intimacy and vulnerability and really feeling what's happening in my body, transparency, authenticity, true leadership. I knew nothing about these things. So for the last 25 years, I've been catching up. I've been sitting with gurus in Germany and here and, going to natural hot springs and doing stuff that'll make your hair curl to learn what it is to really be human. So now I think I'm a bit of an unusual coach. I don't just focus on business, although it's super fun for me. But I say to people, if all you want is more money in your business, you really should work with someone else. There are plenty of people who can do that. I'll help you make more money and, we'll look at hiring and marketing and branding and all of that. That's fun. But who are you in the world? How are you showing up? Are you living the life that you really want to live so that on your deathbed, you can look back and say, I really lived. I gave it everything. So those are the people that tend to come to me. They're like, okay, yeah, I need business help, but I want you to look at the whole picture and how my life fuels my business and the business fuels my life. That's my sweet spot.
Yeah, that's very, very cool, inspiring backstory, David. And whenever we got your background and your experience, I looked over this and I saw some of the stuff that you have really deep experience with, and I got really excited because I doing so many things and I have shiny object syndrome really bad. David knows this, and so that's one of the things I think that you are experienced in helping and kind of overcome that. And so why do you think so many entrepreneurs have this shiny object syndrome, and what can we do to overcome this and get on the right track?
I'm assuming, I'm not an anthropologist, but I assume that it's an evolutionary trait. If we see something shiny, we should go and check that out. It could be food. So I think that it's good and right that we're like, oh, this could be cool and this could be cool. It's way better than the alternative. And I've been in massive depression. So seeing shiny objects and going for them, I see nothing wrong with that. The thing is, in our society, we've got so many shiny objects now. It's unlimited. Just think about the number of TV shows you have at your disposal if you wanted to go and fire up the TV and watch them now. And then we've got social media, and I don't just have a text messaging app on my phone. I got 7 of the things. I spent an hour last night. I don't normally do this. I don't normally get lost on YouTube or the media, but I spent an hour going through the whole Will Smith and Chris Rock slap, which I did watch live. And I'm like, Was it real? Was it not real? That was an hour of my time at night when I was supposed to be in my bedtime routine. So we got so many opportunities for shiny objects. I call them monkey treats because I think the human mind is like a monkey on crack. It's like, oh, wow, go check this out. Oh, I got to do this. Wait, I got a text message here. Okay, email him, but knock at the door. So the problem with that, if you're having a really good time with that, I say keep doing it. The problem is that while it generates dopamine and adrenaline, and it can keep us fired up and keep us really busy, it can lead to overwhelm and stress. We do it to ourselves. And the other thing is, if we have goals that we want to move towards at a pace faster than the competition, it's going to slow us down hugely. So a lot of clients do come to me because they're like, look, I'm high performing, I'm successful, my business is doing well, and I'm scattered. I really need to learn how to rein it in, because there's a time to do all the planning and put everything on the table and go shotgun. And then do you have the discipline to rein it back and say, all right, 12 months out, this is my focus. 3 months out, this is what really matters. Yes, there are 100 things I wish I could fit in. That's natural. Can you put those in a drawer? It reminds me of when I did martial arts and the focus and the discipline it took to do the kicks, punches, hand techniques, and learn the patterns and then do the fitness training or whatever. It was discipline. Do you have the discipline to focus so that you can have a little time for shiny objects? That's fine. Maybe after 4 o'clock, go on social media, check your email, go nuts. But are you willing to bring it back and focus so that you can move towards your goals at a faster pace than everybody else? And secondly, have some peace and a sense of satisfaction at the end of each day, saying, hey, I nailed it. And I wasn't just busy, but I did the stuff that I said was most important.
Very nice. I really like that response. And you are the first person to point to this being an evolutionary trait. But boy, is that's the best answer I've heard on this. I mean, that makes complete sense. And I really like your position on this. Now,
thank you. I've never said that before.
Yeah, profound. I would bet that answer probably applies to a lot more things than we acknowledge. So I want to circle back to this topic of shiny object syndrome. And Ken admitted he suffers from it, as do I. And it is intoxicating. And one thing that I struggle with is to decipher whether this represents a giant opportunity or if this is, in fact, a shiny object. And so when you're working with clients that run into this, they're running into this question, is it an opportunity or is it a distraction? What are some tools that they can apply to this scenario to perhaps find their answer?
Great question. How do I know if this is something really important to pursue, maybe even a pivot? Or is this a distraction? So the answer is not complex. A simple way, and I have an 8-week program, and the first thing we do in that program, it's called the Samurai Program for business owners, is work out 12 months from now, how will you know that you've achieved your targets and you should celebrate and do the happy dance? Now, even at that point, the mind's going to come in and go, well, here are 25 things that I want. I had one client, I got 20 goals. Is that too many? Yes, that's too many. Pick the 3 business goals that matter most to you. Now, already we're focusing. It's great. Start with 20. What 3 matter if you only got to choose 3? And then what 3 life goals? It's a simple structure to focus the mind. Put the rest in a drawer. Doesn't mean that they're disappearing, but maybe if you make extra progress faster than you thought on one of the goals, you can pull something out of the drawer as a reward. So use it as a motivator. And then do the same thing for 3 months. For each of those goals, what's the milestone that you can celebrate, that you know it's time to call all of your friends and say, check what just happened. I'm so thrilled. And then I say, do the same thing for 7 days out. My clients fill in a self-coaching form before every session, 5 or 10 minutes, going through, looking at the past week, looking at the next week. They've got their action plan already set before I even get on the phone with them. That's a structure to make sure that they've picked what matters. Now, and then you do it for each day. So the day before, write down 2 things. If you could only do 2 things tomorrow, if you're only allowed to do 2 things that could move the needle in your life or business, what would they be? So this is how we focus the mind. Then when something comes up, you've already got your plan. You wake up, you've got your plan. I know the 2 things I'm going to do before I do everything else. If something comes up, I say, firstly, can you play a game called put that off until another time, because you've already got your plan and you want to love the one you're with? Can you do that? A really good question. I've got one client that's like, how do I know? I've got so many things. How do I know? I said, when something comes up, put it against your list for the 7 days and look at, is it important enough to bump something? Because if you add this, you might have to put off something else. Are you willing to do that? And then work out, okay, yes, it needs to go in the next 7 days. Work out where it goes in the order and then what's going to be bumped. That's discipline. And then if it's got to be done today, and that's fine. Sometimes it's like, oh, this seems more important. This is an opportunity. Or if creativity comes through, if I'm getting creative about writing an article or doing a video for something, I'll bump everything on my list for that, because I never know if that creativity is going to come back. So this is a way that you can work it out. You just compare it to everything you've already said you're going to do. Here's the mistake a lot of people make. They just automatically do it. Pops up, and I did it yesterday. It's so hard for me to go through email looking for an important one when I've already got my task list. It's so hard to not act on those emails. It's almost impossible. So better just don't do it. Here's a trick. Go into your sent box. When you open your email, click on your sent folder so you don't see all the emails waiting, because they will hijack you. Those are shiny objects. And then if something comes up that's really important, well, I think I'm just going to repeat myself here. So that's a way to find out, does it matter enough to bump other stuff? Or I'm going to put that into next week, or I'll put that onto Wednesday. People are just automatically doing what's in front of them. And I had one client who said, yeah, I've got my calendar. I've got everything structured, but there was no discernment as to what went on the calendar. If someone wanted his time, he'd find time on the calendar. He was missing one tiny little step. I'm going to say no to that. Or I can't do that this week. That's going to be for next week. He wasn't doing the filtering.
Yeah, dude, I think that strategy and that kind of that philosophy behind that is great. Focus and discipline. And I think a word that I don't say enough is no. I think that's entrepreneurs should say no more often instead of yes. And one of my brain goes to, and maybe you can speak to this a bit before we move on, because I think this is very powerful. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, especially in our space with tech, everything is moving so fast. I always think in my mind, like, I have this FOMO, fear of missing out. What if my competitors are doing this and I'm not? And so what do you tell your clients? Do you tell them just to, stay to that strategy, or is there anything else in terms of mindset? If I'm thinking like, I have to do this, I have to add this in, because if I don't, I'm going to miss out on a great opportunity.
Yeah. Well, definitely that's where having a coach can help to talk it out. I once had a client who came to me and said, I've got an opportunity to buy a business for $1 million, and I think it's worth like 1.3. Can we talk about it? And I said, well, let me get this straight. You came to me because you have shiny object syndrome and you're scattered and you're having trouble focusing. I've been trying to get you to focus on the current business. And now you're thinking with all your free time and the fact that you've already done everything possible in your business to make it number one in the market and set up all the systems so it runs without you. With all of that free time you have, you're thinking, let me start another business and I'll work on that. And there was a pause and he said, all right, what's next? It was just so obvious to me. Now I've got another client at a session coming up today, very intelligent. And this is one of the problems of the entrepreneur. We see all the opportunities. We should, that's our job. We see, I could be doing these 22 marketing methods. And I think I want to, I'd like to hit this target market. I personally would like to coach business owners and executives and leaders of nonprofits. Okay, those are 3 separate target markets. And I'm good at each of them. But the dilution of my efforts, am I really going to try and target all the podcasts that do all those 3 different target markets, or just the podcasts that focus on successful business owners? I know which one would be more peaceful and probably which would be successful. So my job with this client today is going to be like, okay, really good work. And you've got to stop because for that client, there's already been over planning. You've got to stop. You've got to pick, okay, this is my number 1 target market. This is, and I've forgotten your question, but I'm on a roll. This is I know it's relevant. This is your number 1 target market. This is your number 1 problem that you're going to solve for them. For my target market, number 1 thing, double revenue. That's what most people want. It's not the thing I care about most, but we'll start with that. And once I got you in, we'll work on the really good stuff. So, and then what's your number 1 marketing method? Where are you going to get your traffic from? Now you can test 4, that's fine, for 4 to 6 weeks, test 4, pick the one that's got the most promise and go deep for a year on that. So I've forgotten the question, but I have some reasonable confidence that I answered it.
Yeah, definitely.
You absolutely did. So you used the word entrepreneur, and I would say that in its true meaning, this describes a personality type. Someone who definitely has trouble saying no, has all these business ideas. They don't have enough time to tackle all of them. You work with entrepreneurs, right? There's a certain personality type. And so I'm curious, are there any general observations that you have observed that seems to apply to most entrepreneurs in terms of lack of balance? What are some areas that generally, if people are very much focused on business, what part of their personal life are they lacking? Or, you had mentioned in the early days of your career, you were very much focused on business, but there were some pieces of your personal life that had perhaps been neglected. And so, you're curious about that.
I love this question. This is my favorite question in the last 3 months. What areas of an entrepreneur's life could be lacking or not getting the attention that they desire? I haven't had a chance to talk about this. I've been thinking about this for some time. I see life as a series of systems. That's how I see it. That's kind of my brain as training as an actuary. And in our business, we've got many systems. We need a system for hiring. We need a system for motivating and managing. We need a system for training. We need a system for marketing. We need a system for lead nurturing. We need a system for sales. We need a system for delivery of the product. We need a system for customer service. We need a system for the legals and the bookkeeping. Oh my God, not for the faint of heart. When you leave a job and start your own business, all of these systems, and you don't have to do them overnight, but we really need systems for everything. In our life, there are other systems I think we should have. And I'm going to invite every listener to consider, how strong is your system for whatever I'm about to bring up? And I don't know what they're going to be, but something's about to come out. So one would be health. I think that's a pretty obvious one. If you don't have a system for your health and you just leave it to chance, maybe naturally, boom, you get lucky and you find that you're naturally exercising. You don't have to think about it. You're naturally eating well. It's not the case for a lot of us. So, and if you don't take care of your health, what's going to happen is your stress is probably going to increase. And then you're going to need things to numb that, like TV and sugar and alcohol, cannabis, video games, whatever it is, name your poison. And it just becomes a spiral. So when I think of health, let's break that down for a second. In your health system, do you have a system for exercise? I realized that it had gone 6 to 12 months during the pandemic. I was doing almost nothing. So I need a system. And for me, exercise has got to have a game attached to it. I love squash, went and joined a gym, but that's not enough. Now I've got access to the squash courts. I've got 4 regular games set up each week. There's my system. Now, do I want to go and play squash today at 3:30? No, I'd rather play video games, but the game's already set. It's booked with a guy. And so that's what I'm going to do. That's a system. The system will outdo willpower. Now, exercise is just one aspect. I've also, I did Wild Fit, which is an amazing online program by Eric Edmeades. I did it 2 or 3 years ago, and I learned the value of having a green smoothie packed with nutrients every morning to start the day. So yesterday I spent over an hour doing smoothies for 2 weeks. I was blending and chopping and blending and chopping and freezing and whatever. Now today, when I've finished my intermittent fasting, because I can't eat until noon and then I can't eat after 8 p.m., I'll go and grab that smoothie. So consider, what is your system for healthy eating? Simple thing, don't go and buy crap. Don't have it in the house. I just recently gave away 9 pints of ice cream and a whole bunch of high quality chocolate. Because I'll tell you, I've found that if it's in the house at night and I smoke at night, I do not have what it takes. It's amazing. And I'm a powerful guy. I do not have what it takes. So I just gave it away. Right. So I've got systems for this stuff. What is your health system? I've just started working with a doctor, really awesome, cutting edge guy, concierge service. That's part of my health system. Now we're doing a bunch of tests. The bastard's got me doing cold showers again. And I live in Colorado, people. I've got an Oura ring that's monitoring my heart rate constantly and my heart rate variability. I got a glucose monitor. So I'm tracking my glucose spikes. I'm not saying go and do all of this stuff. I'm saying, what system do you have in place for your health? And I think that's one of the big ones. Another system we might need is, are you getting enough contact? Are you getting enough touch? Are you, particularly if you're single, do you have a cuddle buddy? Do you have ways that you connect with people? It might be you've got salsa dancing lessons. Boom. That's a system for contact. I've got a men's group. We're meeting tonight. That's a system for contact and for growth, which brings me to education. Do you have a system for education? Some people use a coach. Some people use a mastermind group. Some people will sign up for a course and ideally complete it. So those are some of the systems that come to mind that I think we could address. I'm looking at my list right now. This is one way I order things, particularly when things get overwhelming and there's all these shiny objects. So if anyone's watching the video, I just did a mind map this morning of the 4.5 things that I'm tracking and shepherding in my life, because it can get overwhelming with lists and, all the things I want to do and Post-its. And this list simply says, I got taxes, which is going to be like the next 2-3 weeks of my life. Health, with working with a doctor and doing a bunch of testing and bringing new practices into my life for health and energy and vitality. Moving to Los Angeles to pursue acting. It's happening in the next 5 weeks. And then book launch. And then down here, there's an app that hasn't been updated for 5 years called Get Real to help people connect deeper in conversation. And it's like, all right, we got to keep that moving along. So this is a way when you start to get overwhelmed, you can just pick what matters most. And each day when you get lost, just look at that and go, all right, how can I move the ball further down the field in those?
I really like that, David. And you know, your strategy on thinking of, I always think of, I've heard to it as referred to as kind of the 4 burners, you know, business and health and friends and everything, and managing those. I've never thought of it in terms of systems. So I really like thinking of it in terms of putting a system in place. It just kind of makes sense, left brain type. So I really like that. That is cool. As we kind of go into the next question here, I think that piece will kind of play into this next question, but I know, you know, you specifically work with clients. Some of them are in business and focusing on business. So how can, you know, how do you help clients to focus on less but grow revenue? How does that work?
Well, when we're distracted, like for example, with that client who was thinking of buying another business, like the cost to his existing business would have been enormous. So when you're distracted, you move slower towards your goals. And we're doing so many things that are just busy work. I'm just thinking of like in the last week, what did I say no to? Doing that mind map really helped. Because I'm like, this is my focus. And I can feel time's going to crunch because of the deadlines that I have. And so a couple of really lovely people that I'd like to connect with reached out and said, do you want to connect? Do you want to get together? We'll do something in Boulder. One woman said, do you want to do that duet you asked me about a month ago? We're going to sing. And I wanted to say yes. And I was going to like, well, I could fit it in here. And then I looked at the mind map. I'm like, hang on. No, that's not what to do. I've got my priorities. I know what to do. So can you refresh me on the question?
Yeah. So how can someone focus on less,
do less,
and grow
and achieve more?
Do less. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, to me, it's obvious. You focus on what matters and what's really going to move the needle. So one client was like, how do I break this down? I got all these things. They all seem important. I said, well, let's do a quadrant. It's a simple tool. Put 4 quadrants, and on one axis, you'll have important, less important. So let's say on the top left, you got important, the top right, you've got less important. And then on the left side, down the side, that axis is time sensitivity. So the top left would be urgent and the bottom left would be not urgent. And she's loving this. She's like, all right, the stuff that's urgent and important, that's my priority. We do that. The other stuff, I don't know if I'm even going to get to that. But if she's working on those things instead of all the busy stuff, she can actually cut her hours in half and move towards her goals at twice the pace. I just had a client said, oh, I got a new target market. I think this could be a good target market. I said, yeah. And it's going to take you away from the one you've already identified. Really? Is that going to be worth it? Now, look, if it's a great, amazing new target market that no one else is serving, okay, maybe it's time for a pivot. But if it's not time for a pivot, forget about that. You got to say no to that. And by doing that, she can go deeper and be way more successful with the current target market. She can focus the right podcasts. She can focus the right publications. She can talk to the right influencers that just deal with that target market. I don't think that's even going to be a 2x. I think that could be 4x or 5x because it can be exponential. the value when you focus. Tony Robbins said 25 years ago when I was watching him on stage, he said, you can be good at what you do. So let's suppose you got 3 different target markets. You might be good at each of them. But if you're excellent, you're going to get so much more. And then if you are the best, you get all the rewards. All the rewards go to the person at the top of the chain. But you can't be top of the chain. I think I mixed my metaphors. You can't be top of the food chain if you're trying to serve different target markets and be good at different traffic sources and have 4 different funnels. If you try and do that, it's almost impossible to be excellent at it. I actually was successful as a coach in spite of not focusing. And so I learned. It took me a lot longer than it could have. I was good at other things, so I managed to still make it work. But I was trying to coach people on relationships and coaching people on this and that. And then it was like, oh, let's do business and let's do people who are becoming a coach. Look, that's fine initially while you work out what your strengths are and where you should really be. But then ultimately you got to pick something. You got to pick a lane. You got to pick something to hang your hat on. And then you got to do that over the long term, like 12 months. You've got to focus over 3 months. You've got to focus over 7 days. You've got to focus over 1 day, like tomorrow when you wake up. And then I didn't talk about the last one. You got to focus over the next 25 minutes. That's where the rubber really meets the road. I'm a big fan of the Pomodoro technique. And so you set your timer 25 minutes and you have a specific goal. In 25 minutes, I will have responded to these 3 emails. That will be done. And you set the timer. All distractions are off. Phone cannot ding. That's a rookie mistake. No text message dings, no email notifications, no even looking at banner icons to say I've got 4 messages on Voxer. No, just get in 25 minutes. Can you get it done? Now, if you find that you can't, the mind is off and you ended up ordering something on Amazon, all right, or taking a call from someone, that's okay. Most people can't implement all this stuff overnight. That, might take a few weeks or months to actually get this in as practice. But if you do, and by the way, I have a cheat sheet with all of these things and more as a checklist that people can download. I'm happy to give that out at the end if you like, so they can download it and just go through. Right, I've got this one done. This week I'm going to handle these 2, and then the next week I'm going to bring in these 2. Do that, completely change how you do business in life.
Very nice. Very nice. I like how a lot of things about the response that I like, but one of the things that you mentioned that I really took note of was that having your cell phone around is a rookie mistake. And I think it's a great first step for people. And just the way you phrased it made it seem like the obvious solution to at least a good first step in terms of staying focused. So
we've got enough trouble with our brain taking us off track.
Yeah.
With a brain monkey, like a monkey on crack. Do we really need the help of all these other devices to take us off track? No, give yourself a fighting chance. You still may fall off the horse and not get what you said done in 25 minutes, but give yourself a fighting chance to actually focus and do what you said matters most.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, before we get to the fire round, let's chat about Focus.CEO. Curious how your program can help our listeners.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I have a couple of different programs. I have private coaching for people who just know that's what they want. They're like, I want customized attention. I've got the budget for it. I also have another program that I created specifically for people who can't afford private coaching, or they just want a bit more community. And they thrive in groups. And that's called the Samurai program. It runs for 8 weeks. You get very short videos, because I'm not a fan of watching like 60-minute videos. These videos are like 4-minute video and then an action. It's like that. And then we do a couple of group calls a month where you bring your issues, we celebrate wins, you bring your current challenge, and I hot seat you and coach you. And I'm doing something new with that. I have been charging about $2,000 for that program. And I got inspired when someone else had this radical new way to do it. The offer for listeners today is that I'm not going to charge you for the program. So I'm not going to charge you $2,000. I'm going to have you pay an accountability bond. So you put this money up front, and when you do each of the lessons in the time frame, and I actually give you an extra 2 weeks, so you got 10 weeks to actually complete it. When you do the lessons and take the action and email to say, yes, I did this, I give you all of that bond back. So it actually costs you nothing. It will only cost you if you don't do the damn program. And the accountability bond is $990. But for listeners, and we talked about this before we hit record, I've created a coupon code that'll give you $500 off that. So your accountability bond is even going to be half of that. It's going to be $490. And the link for it is a special link. It's doublerevenue.net. I just created a redirect that's easy to remember. So it's not .com, it's doublerevenue.net. That'll take you straight to the page on my site. And then if you wanted the $500 off the accountability bond, the coupon is FTM.
Very nice.
Short for Fire the Man, FTM.
For all of our listeners that are driving, keep your eyes on the road. We will post all of this in our show notes with the link and the coupon code. But it's very, very generous offer, and we certainly appreciate it.
Thank you. And I would say, look, if you want more accountability, don't use the coupon code. Put up $990 and hold yourself accountable, and then do it. Stick to it, right? It's an important practice to have in life. All right, I do this, I commit to this, boom, it's done. But if cash flow is tight right now and you'd rather put up less, you can use FTM to even reduce that bond.
Yeah, that's awesome. Really appreciate that offer, David, to all the listeners out there. And if you're listening, and I would say at a minimum, go and get this download, this checklist that David mentioned. Start implementing these little enhancers in your life, optimizing your daily schedule and getting more things done. And then when you're ready for a full program or anything like that, then you can upgrade. But at a minimum, I would definitely suggest getting this download, this checklist to help out. And it is crucial to, whether you're starting a business or whether you're deep into a business, there's always so many things going on in your life. You're, overloaded with work. Especially if you're hustling, you're working a full-time job still, and you're building a business on the side, you need stuff like this to help you manage everything. And so it's definitely crucial.
Let me give the link for that, because that's a separate link for that download. You can go to myfocusgift.com, because I want to give you the gift of focus. So I tried to come up with something memorable. myfocusgift.com. That'll take you to a hidden page on my site where you can put in your email address, get a couple of videos from me a week if you want. Subscribe to my podcast. You can request a session with me if you want private coaching, and you can download that free checklist. All of those things at that same link, myfocusgift.com.
Awesome. Very cool. Appreciate that. David, to be respectful of your time, let's move on to the fire round. Are you ready?
Okay.
What is your favorite book?
The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss.
Excellent. What are your hobbies?
Acting, singing, occasionally improv, video games. And I don't know if TV is a hobby, but I like that. And occasionally something called circling and tea group, which is basically you sit with people and you speak about what's coming up in the moment. You don't go into story about what happened more than 30 seconds ago. I guess that's a thing I do. So that's a hobby.
Awesome. What is one thing that you do not miss about working for the man?
Having fixed hours, having a place where I have to be there each day at a certain time. And if I'm not really feeling it, so that lack of flexibility is something I don't miss. And I'm going to smuggle in a second one here. not having the freedom to pursue the creativity that I had. Like, oh, what about this project? Well, let's do that or whatever. No, there are 5 people that had to approve it. And they're like, nah, just stay in your lane. So that was tough.
Okay. Fair enough. What do you think sets apart successful entrepreneurs from those who give up, fail, or never get started?
Firstly, get that it's probably not an overnight thing for success. I just had a client ask me for a pep talk, and I said, look, it's not for the faint of heart. You might try 7 products or services before you get one that's a winner. And there's so many things that you need to learn and get good at. And so I think resilience and discipline. I mentioned the martial arts earlier. Can you get up and say, all right, this is what's most important. I'm going to set aside distractions and I'm going to do it. I had one guy tell me long ago when I was a musician and I was doing pubs and parties and whatever, he says, you've got to get up at 7 a.m. and treat this as if you're working for the man. You've got to treat this as a job and take this seriously. And then you need persistence, because people see the success and go, oh, I want that. They don't see the 10,000 things that I and my clients do that never go anywhere. You just keep trying and keep trying and keep trying. And some of it is thankless and no one knows about it. And then you get that one thing that's working. You're like, oh, okay, phew. So persistence and resilience.
Excellent answer. David, do you want to close out the show?
Yeah, David, what would be the best way for our listeners to get in touch with you if they're interested in enrolling in any of your programs or coaching?
Yeah, thank you. I think we covered that. So I'll just double click on it. Go to myfocusgift.com, put in your email address. And then if you want to book a session with me, I don't charge for that initial session because it's how I find the right clients to work with. If you're interested in private coaching, I think I'm calling it a double your revenue audit on that page. I need a better name, but that's what most people want to start with. So that's what I'm calling it. But don't be misled. You'll be asked deep questions about your life before we even get on the phone if you do that audit. So that's myfocusgift.com. In the navigation, you can find my podcast, which is Extraordinary Focus, and subscribe to that. And then, as we've talked about with the Samurai program, if you're interested in the group program and getting it for free, go to doublerevenue.net. I got that domain just because it was available, doublerevenue.net, and use the code. If you want half off the accountability bond, use the code FTM. And then I'd love to see you in the group calls twice a month. So that's how you can get in touch with me.
Well, very nice. Well, David, I really enjoyed recording this podcast, and as did Ken, and a lot of great gems here. And it's going to be one that I listen back to because I really enjoyed our conversation. So anyway, I want to thank you for being a guest on the Firing the Man podcast, and looking forward to staying in touch.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure to be on the show, and thanks for the fun questions. I said some things I haven't said in 300 interviews. So nice job on bringing that out.
Thank you.